Hello, everybody. This is Dan Gentry here for another episode of Third Power Life podcast. And every morning I go out for a walk after I take my son to the school bus, and I do kind of a little mini series called my Walk and Talk, where I just basically do a Facebook Live and on my Third Power Performance Facebook group. So if you're not a member there, you really need to go and like the page Third Power Performance on Facebook. And usually every morning about 7:20, 7:30-ish, I will get on and just kind of talk about a topic of the day. Well, recently I did one of those that actually several people commented to me about it, and shared it and those sort of things, and it seemed to really kind of strike a chord. So I wanted to share it with my broader audience. That would be you. So and it's talking about overwhelm and how to deal with overwhelm. So we're going to go into that. Again, you can go on Facebook and join Third Power Performance, and you'll be able to see these when they happen. So, all right, let's go to it.
So, the big question is this: how are successful professionals like us going to keep increasing our business success and yet still have a full, balanced, and vibrant life that we absolutely love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. I'm Dan Gentry, and welcome to Third Power Life Podcast.
Good morning, everybody. Dan Gentry here for another episode of Walk and Talk, and it is a gorgeous day out here. I'm starting to feel a little tiny bit of coolness. Like fall is not that far away, and I for one cannot wait. I love the cooler weather. The heat kills me, which is funny because I grew up here, basically in Dunellen in a house without air conditioning. So I guess I probably just had all of the heat that I really want. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about feeling overwhelmed, right? And this is something that's a kind of a frequent visitor for me. There's so many different things going on, and it's so easy to get overwhelmed by all of the responsibilities and things that we have going on. I know for me, I've got so many different clubs, so many different jobs and businesses, and being a parent, all of that, and there are times when you just feel like I can't take it anymore, right? And it's something that I've struggled with this weekend, where I'm like, okay, I've got to do my treasurer stuff for the National Speakers Association. I've got to get ready for Scouts starting. I've got my my kids' activities going on. We've got karate that I'm training for, and then I've got work, and I've got the business that I'm trying to grow, and finding out that my funnel for my live event wasn't working right. Somebody tried to sign up and couldn't get. So this is all of these different things that just keep stacking on. And what I find is that the first thing is to stop, to take a step back, and to breathe, right? When you start feeling that overwhelm, and right, Matt, you're exactly right. To be overwhelmed is very, very stressful, and that stress doesn't do us any good, right? It actually makes the things that we're trying to achieve harder. So what I found that works for me tremendously is to just stop, take a step back. For me personally, I go I make a really good cup of coffee, and just take the 2 to 5 minutes to stop, stand back, drink something good, and then I start writing down and listing out all of the different things that I've got going on. And I find there is magic to getting it out of up here and onto paper, because when it's all just up here, when you're just thinking about all the stuff I've got to do, it grows. It seems huge, right? But when we actually get it down on paper, it can still be a little bit, it's like, holy cow, that's a long list of things, but you've gotten it out of your brain. And you're not trying to remember all of these different little pieces and all these different moving parts that I have to do. And you get it down on paper. And then, one, that makes it really easy to prioritize, because there's a magic to physically writing it down. And I would tell you, don't even use like an app or, your computer. Write it on paper, dead trees, if you will, right? Because there's a magic to having to distill down your thoughts into concise, words on paper, right? And it also makes it so now I can prioritize. I can see all the different pieces that I have. I've broken it down into the minimum, all of the different things that are necessary, and really it allows me to prioritize. Now I can say, okay, you know what? I've got these other things, but they're really not that important, or at least not important for right now. That can be put off until next week. I don't need to be stressing about that. I've got it recorded. I can put it in my to-do next week bin, right? And so you start whittling it down, and then the kind of the test is it important, right? And is it necessary? Because I can't tell you how many times where I've written down my to-do list of all the different things I have, only to find out that really many of them I shouldn't be doing. I should have delegated it to somebody else, or it's really not that important. The question I always like to ask is, what happens if the items on my list never happen? What are the ramifications of that? Sometimes it could be, I could lose a client. Okay, that's an important one, right? It might be that somebody said, that it's just, if it doesn't happen, oh well, my ego might take a little bit of a hit. I got enough ego for everybody, so it could take a couple of hits, right? But what are the real ramifications if it doesn't happen? And I find so many times you can winnow down that list to where it's not stressful anymore, right? So I guess that's the real key for handling overwhelm, is to really get clear on what it is you really have to do. Write it down, make it clear, and then go through it with your priorities and say, is this really important? Is it really what I need to do, right? Is there anybody that can help me with it? And then what happens is it slowly becomes less stressful, and it becomes less overwhelming, until now here's my marching orders. I know what I can do. And that's the other part of it, is once you've got it written down, now is it possible to get everything done, right? It's just, all right, Matt, take care. Good seeing you. But is it possible to get everything done? Because there have been times where I've taken my list of all of the things that I have to do, and there's no way. It's just not humanly possible. So therefore, the priority comes into play. What can I do? And who do I need to call to let them know that, it's not going to happen? Because I can guarantee you, and everybody listening here can chime in, I would much rather know ahead of time that somebody's not going to be able to do what I've told them that I'm going to do, right? I'd rather know 2 days ahead of time or a day ahead of time than after the fact. I mean, so, that's yet another part of it, is knowing when to say no and when to say, what, I'm sorry, but it's just not going to happen right now. And being real with that, both with yourself and with others. Because the fastest path to overwhelm is where you're promising everybody everything, and you can't do it. And all that does is that shuts us down. We get so stressed out, we get so overwhelmed that our efficiency goes down to basically zero, and then we don't get anything done. And it's that whole devil's circle, right? It kind of keeps feeding on itself. So take a step back, relax, focus in on writing down what's really, all of the different tasks you have. Go through, prioritize, figure out which things need to go, which things can be delegated, which things are really important, right? And then what can you do, and just get starting work on the highest priority first, and then the next, and just keep going down. And realizing if you can't do it, you can't do it. And that's okay. All right? Anyway, that's my walk and talk for today. Don't get overwhelmed. It's not worth it. Life is way too short to be stressed out, right? We can have a fantastic life. So anyway, Dan Gentry, until next time, live your life to the third power.
I want to thank you for listening to this episode of Third Power Life Podcast. I would absolutely love it if you could give me a review. Actually, what would be really cool is if you take a screenshot of this episode and post it, tag me at Third Power Performance, either on Instagram or Facebook, and I will see that. And kind of tell me, what did you like? How did this help you? Kind of give me a little bit of feedback. I would absolutely appreciate it. So until next time. If you would like to find out more about Dan Gentry and Third Power Performance, then go to www.thirdpowerperformance.com.